to go? All right, our technology department says we are ready to go. All right. All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Brookfield Inland Wetlands Commission. Today is Monday, April 28th, 2025. My name is Sharon Fox. I act as chair of the commission. To my left is Mr. Tom Keller, who is the vice chairman, and further down, Mr. Rob Scalera, who is, you're still an alternate, right?
I believe so.
Okay, who is an alternate member, but tonight all three of us will be voting members. Further down is our recording secretary, Elizabeth Adams. So if you're planning to speak tonight, please be sure you give Elizabeth your name and address and give her a chance to get it down right. And then further down, Ms. Laura Barkowski, who is the Wetlands Enforcement Officer. All righty, well, why don't we start then with the Inland Wetlands Officer's Report. So we got a couple active sites here. I see a little note here dated today.
So I took the liberty of drafting a letter for the commission, if you find it acceptable, to sign and send to the Municipal Building Committee. I'm not getting any responses off of my email.
Okay.
So I figured we might up it to a little bit of a more formal response to try to put on their agenda for correspondence. I happen to know their recording secretary, so.
Okay. I would probably just add on the second bullet, the requested report should denote, I'm going to write it down, the requested report would document if these were created per the plan or field changes were required. The requested report would simply note, would only have to note, I don't know, I don't think we need to do that, would document if the created wetlands conform to the plan?
Conform or deviate?
No, conform to the plan, or what, or if there were changes, what are they? Conform to the approved plan.
To be approved or document any changes?
Yeah, the requested report would document if the created wetlands conform to the approved plan or were field changes required, and what were those changes? And what are the changes? And I think maybe the first bullet, these maintenance and monitoring reports, and they would start, I don't know if they're even created yet. I don't know if these, so let's just say late fall, so let's just say one is due this November, okay? The first report is due this November. How about that? Is due November 1st, 2025. So thank you for doing this.
Just as a starting point.
Yeah, okay. So those are the changes I made, and then you can just sign it for me. Okay, great. I think that's a good idea. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, we just like to know, it should be straightforward. Did they do what they said, or did they have to make changes, or what? Okay, 58 Grays Bridge. Again, we're keeping this on because it's a big contamination remediation project, and it also has wetlands creation on it, so I don't see any updates there. 500A Toll Brothers, had a nice big rain over the weekend, but I assume this last report is before that. Alright, and they're saying everything looks good here. Well, that's March. That's March. Where's the April one? March is the last one I guess we have, right?
March is the last
Yeah, so
one.
we
They
would,
tend
we
to
would
submit
expect
them.
one, yeah, we'd expect one after this weekend's rain,
Absolutely.
which was welcome, but I still see that there's a wildfire danger with all this wind. Jeez. Okay, so that is that. Enforcement, 35 Merwin Brook Road. I think we have an update on that, right?
We do have an update. Mr. Kinsella did leave a voicemail at the office saying that the plantings are in. I, with the commission's approval, was going to request that I get something in writing confirming that it is the 175 plantings per the list, the
Okay.
approved plan from either a landscape architect or one of his experts. I will also go out to this site as well to make sure that the plantings are roughly according to the plan, but as far as 175 small plantings, I would prefer somebody with a little bit more expertise
Right.
to confirm.
Fair enough. And then once we get that, then we have to confirm there is a,
There is.
memory serves, there is a planting bond. We gotta get that under control.
Correct.
Or not under control, we gotta get that in place.
Mhm.
And then eventually we have, what'd you say, upwards of $30,000 in fines?
It's getting close to about $30,000.
Okay. So that needs to be dealt with as well.
Correct.
Okay, well, I'm very glad to hear that the property owner has gotten those plants, those trees in to get back starting to protect that little water course back there. Okay, 203 Grays Bridge. 203 Grays Bridge.
This is the mulch business around the corner,
Oh, yeah,
right across from the cemetery.
Yeah.
Or roughly across from the cemetery.
Yeah, they moved some of those big things back into the wetlands.
Yes, it appears that we do have representatives here,
Okay.
but what ended up happening is I received a complaint saying that they believe that there was work being done in the wetlands upon drive-by inspection. It became obvious that some of their bins had been moved over towards the berm near the telephone pole or the electric pole. You can see it when you're driving down Grays Bridge Road.
Okay.
I contacted the property owner, and they're actually here today.
Okay.
And probably be willing to speak for what occurred.
Okay. All right, we'll get name and the name and address.
Brendan Southard,
Do you want a
203
chair?
Grays Bridge.
Why don't we swing a chair your direction here?
Do you mind just spelling your last name for me?
Southard, Southaard.
I know, this is the tricky side.
So I think there's an application. Let's just go let me get that.
There is an application that's been received. After contacting the property owner, he did fill out an application for the work that was completed.
All right, so first off, let's just see if we can come to an understanding of exactly what happened, and then we can decide what we're gonna do here. All right, well, why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, there's been bins in this area that's defined.
Yep.
From the original plan we, from many years ago.
Yeah, probably
We have-
2014. I see
yeah.
my name, 2014.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So, and in there it says, bins, locations may vary. There was always bins there.
Yeah,
I had removed a lot of the blocks that were in bins because the original owner of Grays Bridge have stepped back.
Okay.
And now they have taken it over.
okay,
In that so basically we had bins there. There's always been mulch there. I'm sure
Right.
you guys are familiar with the property. We've always done what we've done
Right.
there. They just put cement on the bottom to stop some of the erosion and scraping and keep it more contained.
okay.
That's the activity, but they didn't dig or,
But you
Move
think they were moved
anything.
back?
huh?
So,
Did I hear that right?
No, we never moved
they
the berm.
poured a concrete pad on the bottom
Okay.
and redefined 3 bins. There was material being stored there. I
Yeah.
don't have any before pictures. What
Okay.
alerted me to it is I saw freshly poured concrete
Right,
in the
right.
vicinity.
Okay.
Right.
So-
So the bins we were able to move them wherever. The sizes, locations may vary, which is
Well,
something
no,
that was-
here's where they can't vary. We can't get them closer. There's wetlands
No, they're-
right
Yeah. but if-
over here.
Correct. But if you look.
right over here, that's
This
what
is
we.
a berm
Yeah.
that is our limit line.
Right,
We're not past any of that. We're all in that.
okay, all right,
So we never went and did any type of wetlands work or did anything in the wetlands. This is a regulated area.
Yeah.
But we have used that area per our permits from 2014, as you said.
right,
To work in these areas. We just can't move the berm, do any work to the berm, or anything like that, which we have not done.
okay,
There's a little
In-
confusion too on what's allowed via wetlands versus what might have been allowed via zoning
okay, all right.
too. Because
Right.
moving the bins in wetlands is a regulated activity.
Okay, so, to make sure I really understand, because I know there was a berm there, and the reason for the berm was
To
to
keep-
protect the wetlands and keep
100%.
your workers who are working very hard, but sometimes
Yes, exactly.
forget.
Right.
And so you put them in,
Right, this
to
is a
help-
very different operation.
Yeah.
Sharon, this operation, they're not manufacturing mulch. This is basically, they come, they dump it in the bin, they
Yeah.
sell it, they refill it. So all of this operation that's there now is much, very, not different, but we're not manufacturing. I mean, it's a much cleaner, I don't know if you've been by there.
Yeah, I have.
It's much
I
cleaner.
looked at it. I'm
It's
going,
much different, you know, I just got tired of the retail side of things, so I stick with the, you know, more of the dealer, B2B type stuff, so.
yeah, I said I drive by there all the time, and so I
it's-
saw the berm.
They've done a great job.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they really have.
absolutely.
So the new area is where the big pile of mulch was last year, correct?
So we always had the mulch there. It was always there. And there was always bins. What they did is they put 3 inches of concrete on the base of each bin.
Okay.
And not realizing, because planning and zoning, they don't care. They're like, you go ahead, didn't matter to them. So I was unaware of it, to be honest with you. And then when I got the letter, I was like, oh, guys, you know, here we are. But in the grand scheme of things, if you were to really look at it, it actually contains it better. You know what I mean? You're not
No.
getting down into the dirt. You're not moving and creating something that can erode more. To me, every part of it is actually a better scenario than having it on, you know, just gravel or dirt, you know what I mean? So they're just trying to keep it clean and neat. That's all they were trying to do. And that's actually an investment that they didn't even have to put in. You know, I know that doesn't matter to the commission, but they really want to represent it well for the town of Brookfield.
Okay,
Yeah, if the concrete pad is within what they can do, it actually is going to keep stuff from
oh,
going
yeah.
into the dirt and into
Yeah.
the wetlands.
Yeah,
All right, so we're all in violent agreement. The only thing, the violation is the pouring of concrete in the upland review area without a permit. We're in violent
100%.
agreement, okay.
and they were unaware, and they are aware now.
Yeah,
And they will come to the commission, talk to Laura if there's any gray areas that they don't know of. and,
yeah, it's a
you know,
really
they
nice
understand.
wetland over there,
Yeah.
you know, and I think on the far side, there's a family cemetery over there too. I
Yeah,
think you
there
guys
is.
are aware of
Yeah,
that.
they have access to it.
Yeah.
When Alice
It's a
was
pretty
here, I
cool-
did all that with Alice, and there's access and all that stuff. The Boy
Okay.
Scouts go up there every year and clean it up and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's the wetlands, of course, that get the
That causes-
5 of us interested.
I
you
can't
know.
believe they, well, I can't say that.
Yeah, yeah, good, don't do it.
No.
Okay, so we got it, all right, so, this looks pretty simple. My suggestion is, in there, for them, why don't we just hop to this new business and take care of this, and let these guys go?
Okay.
You all right with that? All right, I'll make a motion that we move to agenda item, new business 6A, 203 Grays Bridge Road. Second?
Second.
Tom seconds that. Discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. All right, so we're gonna look at the application for 203 Grays Bridge Road. I got 3 storage bins with concrete bottoms to store mulch and topsoil. Total acres, 6. Disturbed wetland area, 0. Disturbed watercourse, 0. And that's just what we talked about. Now I have 2 plans here. I have one, no, they're both dated the 14th. And these, the changes are these dark ones?
No, just this, right here.
Those 3 right there,
And you
yeah.
can see on this, right here, they're highlighted.
Okay, well, they're gonna
That's
be
it.
highlighted on mine.
And
Hold on a
just
second.
so the commission is aware as well, there was some equipment being stored over there. I had a conversation, with them. They removed everything. Laura had requested, because if, sometimes we get a flood down there, it's not good to have it parked down there. So they had removed everything, and they no longer will park anything with, oil or diesel or anything down there by the pole anymore. So, that's
Alright.
it.
All right, so this is,
So it's basically, if you.
yeah, no, it's this right here,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just these
just,
guys,
but
right?
it's just the concrete. I wrote it in, proposed bins, concrete bottom. That's all they did.
This is. Application 2511. 2511. So it's just this.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then I'll make a motion to approve application W-25-11, which puts concrete on the bottom of 3 bins as outlined in orange on a map from the original application. And this map was originally approved by the commission, 7/28/14. It was received by the commission April 14th, 2025, with all the usual stipulations. Sound right?
That sounds about right.
Okay, second that?
Second that.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. All right, you're all set, you're all approved. Again, any questions? I said, you're in a very active area.
They'll come to me.
A lot of people drive by there all the time. So if you're doing anything, yeah, which is that's a good thing, just feel free to give the land use office a call, and, because it's better to ask.
If they're gonna move forward on anything, I told them, just call me. Yeah, will call me and we'll have a conversation. Is there anything that we need to do further from this point?
Nope,
We're all set?
nope, you're all set.
Thank you guys, thank you for your time.
All right, what's,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. What's next, Laura? What's next, Laura? Next, we have 51 North Mountain Road. Anybody here for that? So what is this one, Laura? Clear cutting, great. Right, am I reading this right?
So
Yes.
51 North Mountain Road, I have
Yes.
been loosely in contact with the applicant. I have sent, ignore the actual third letter that was supposed to be removed from the agenda.
Okay.
But before I sent it, they actually gave me a call and came into the office, trying to get their application. They are struggling to submit. They have been in contact with
Can you
us.
refresh my memory, what is this?
This is a violation, we've received a complaint that they were clear cutting on their property. They have a very heavily wetland property.
Oh,
I went out to
Okay.
the site, there's some photographs in the violation folder. I asked them to submit an application indicating all of the work that was done. They definitely were cutting within the wetlands, which is why I wanted them to go before the commission. It wasn't just within the upland review area.
oh, Lord, okay.
It was indicated that some of the trees were dying, certain areas have been flooded out. I wanted them to speak to the nature of the work that was actually going on, because by the time I went out there, it was already done.
Oh, cripes.
So, I had spoken with one of the property owner. She's been working with Ann to submit an application. Each time she gets a letter, I get a call saying, tried, she came in. I don't know what happened, because still the application hasn't been received. I know we have a very tricky online system for some people who are not necessarily tech,
Savvy.
yeah. So I'm more inclined to give them one more, a little bit longer to respond to this, because she has been talking to us. I do know that there's a health issue and concern in the family, which is the reason why she say it's taking so long, because her husband is ill.
Okay.
I'd send an actual third letter before going forward. Now they have a
Can you
notice
give me
of
some
violation.
idea, is it handfuls of trees that got cut, or it's scores?
Scores. This is a substantial amount of trees that were cut.
Yeah, this property, you can't miss it at the
Um,
top of Mountain Road.
I guess,
It's a massive colonial, brand new, looks like it's built right on top of ledge. And it looks like it's been under construction for the last 10 years.
Hmm.
There's a pond in front of the property. There's some
Hmm.
very large wetlands.
usually I'm trying to watch the road when I go northbound. I'm watching the
That is a tricky
neighborhoods.
road.
Well, that's the turkey crossing.
That's
right in front of their
turkeys
in front
and
of
turtles.
Jowdy's house. There's a lot of turkeys coming off.
Yeah.
It's right across from Carmen Hill.
Okay, well, we do want to be sympathetic, but
If they've received it, they have corresponded with us, but I don't know where the hiccup is, but there seems to be always this confusion, final push at the end that the application just doesn't go through. It's a two-part system.
do
and
they,
I can't see
do you
it.
know, do they have a remediation plan?
I do not believe that they do.
So if there's no reason for a plan unless they've got some remediation.
I did tell them to put on everything that they not only did, but do intend to do on the property and
Okay.
to not go any further. I did go out there with our zoning enforcement officer, have a conversation with one of the property owners while I was out there. As we were given a tour of the property, some of the trees definitely were dead. I don't believe all of them were.
Well,
That would've
even
been
the dead tree,
Should still come.
let Mother Nature take
Absolutely.
care of it unless it's gonna imminent threat to humanity.
So, which is why I wanted them to come before you to actually explain the full scope of what was done. Again, we were called out by the time we went out there. There are some pictures in the file that might make it a little bit more clear.
No, I think you've answered the question, it's scores, not handfuls, okay.
There's a large piles of wood, so I don't know how many stumps, I don't know what was taken down beforehand.
Okay, well, we're trying to treat everybody the same. You know, we're trying to treat everybody the same, and it has been 6 weeks.
Correct.
And there've been multiple attempts, but you guys still haven't seen anything.
We haven't seen anything. They have come into the office and they have called the office. I'm not quite sure, and I have not been personally the one who has always spoken with them. Sometimes they have dealt with one of the administrative assistants.
Is it possible that you guys could accommodate them if they've got some personal issues with a paper application? Can we
They
accommodate?
just have to upload it to the system. If they can get beyond a certain point, we have a computer in the office. It would
Okay.
not be the first time that we've sat down and told people to log in and kind of backseat driven the computer. But they need to be there because we can't fill it out on our end because then all of the notifications come to us.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying a piece of paper and get them to write on it.
Are they
Even
where,
with that, unless it's online, our online portal, we have a hiccup because then all of our notifications come to us. They have to create a username login, and that way it's associated with their account.
Okay, I see your point.
So
but they can log in a computer over there?
they can absolutely log in the computer in the land use
Are they aware of
office
that?
That they are willing. Pardon?
Are they aware they could do that?
I believe so. I don't know why it wasn't done the last time she came into the office. Unfortunately, I was not in the office at that moment. There was no appointment scheduled. It was a drop by.
Drop by.
So I can send correspondence asking them to set up an appointment.
That's what I would do. Tell them again, we can be sympathetic to personal situations like we were with one, but that ended on about week 7. You know, and we're on week 6.
I can send correspondence saying that they need to set up an appointment
This
prior to the next wetlands
prior
meeting.
to that, even that Thursday, you know, when Ann does the
agenda.
so we have it, right?
Absolutely, and I will, as I always include, you know, if failure to do so
We'll
will result in
further enforcement actions, right? You can even say, look, you know, we may, you know, it is also possible to appoint an agent. Okay,
And we'll make a note of that.
all right. All right, thank you for that. 46 Green, geez, we're back with a bunch of these here. 46 Green Ridge.
That's me.
Oh, great. Well, why don't you come on down, we'll get your name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me go get the file. So, again,
That's better, right?
Okay, perfect,
My
yeah,
last name
I'll
is
take
really
it.
weird.
Make sure you give them back.
I know, I got stopped a couple of times at the airport because of the last name, so I have to add a couple of things in.
oh, that's what's
Yeah.
so cool about it.
No, that's the reason too, I got the app because of the bank accounts and all that.
That's a cool name.
Oh,
Do you go by Mr. Zambrano Beno?
Reynoso.
Reynoso?
Yeah, and it's
That's
weird.
a cool name.
Believe it or not, I don't see that popular, but it is popular. I don't know where, but it is popular. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And there are a couple guys that they got in trouble in South.
Thank you.
Oh, jeez.
And they thought it was me. So,
Oh, man.
Sure, that's a loss to deal with.
oh,
Oh, man. I'm sorry.
I had started this problem since I was in high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I went to high school and Denver High School. I don't know if you know, Mr. Morel used to be the football coach there. So he called me like a couple of times out, like, are you on TV? Your last name is there. Your name is there. And all the time, yeah. Believe it or not, it's weird.
Ooh, that's awful. Okay, we're gonna give you a chance to talk, but first, tell me what's going on here. We're gonna ask Laura to give us her perspective.
What ended up happening is I was going out to a different property and I noticed that some tree work had been performed. When I went back to the office, I think in your packet we have some time-lapse photos and including the purple shading to indicate where the wetlands were.
Okay.
Here's some tree work was also done within the wetlands soils. I have, I think, a 2019 picture to indicate the existing conditions. And 2023, one with purple shading to show where the wetlands are, one without purple shading. And a photo from, an aerial photo from 2019 to show that a portion of the lot was cut.
Okay, all I am finding are the GIS maps.
Yes. The aerial photos, they should have be dated. So this is
Yeah,
the original
mine are dated.
condition in 2019.
Oh, there's a
Yes.
2019.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry, it was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
handwritten.
Oh,
There was
okay,
no
all right.
easy way to put that on there.
Okay.
Then here's 2023 without the purple shading to give you an idea.
This one is 2023?
This one's 2023.
Have you seen
where it
these?
shows this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so these are 2023.
Yeah, I see those pictures.
Okay,
and-
cool. All right, hang on 1 second.
Oh.
We're gonna give you a chance to
And
talk. Don't
then-
worry, you're gonna get a plenty
Oh,
chance.
no.
I
That's
included
good.
one that just showed the purple shading so
that-
you have an idea of where the wetlands line actually is.
Okay.
It's the same map as
I guess probably-
2023, just one was with a layer and one's without.
And in your
Chevy
best judgment,
In my best judgment, it appears
What
that there was
happened?
tree work that was done, that all of this has been cleared out from the difference from 2019 to 2023. You can see, I think it's a volleyball court?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's what I
where the
got.
volleyball court is, it looks like some trees were taken down and some trees
Just
were,
show me this picture first. No, the other.
I was looking one eye versus another.
Yeah, this one.
okay, so here are the trees in the 2019, yeah?
So this tree stays there, this one stays there, all these trees are still there. The only one that I think came out is when they did, before I bought the house, this one was out too. When they, did, the septic, the new septic, they took this tree down, that one's missing there.
But wait, that doesn't explain
Oh,
all of this that was here in 20, that's only one tree. So,
It's not here in
But-
it's
23.
not
all
here in
these-
2023.
which tree? you talking
Any,
about?
this is a tree, this is a
What's
tree,
that in the
this is
upland
a
review
tree,
area?
anything here.
This tree is still there.
Okay, and then on this side as well, so all of this being cleared out in 2019, this is wooded.
Oh, no, there's more trees here, let me show you something.
So there's some trees here, but certain of this area has definitely
No,
been
this
cleared
big-
out.
This big tree is still there.
Okay, that's one tree. I'm not saying that
Oh, no,
all
no.
of the trees have been cleared, I'm saying that there has been tree work performed within a wetlands area without a permit.
Okay, miss,
Yeah, so what happened?
first of all, I didn't know it was a wetland,
Okay,
that's the first thing.
okay,
The other thing is that, I bought the house like 3 years ago,
all right,
and when I started living there like 2 years ago. about 3 years ago, they copied. So I started taking everything out because it was a junkyard out in the back before the previous owner. That's all it was. And the septic was bad, so they did a new septic there, and they did a lot of tree work there. The only thing that I did add, it's I do love to play volleyball with my son. I didn't know it was that, but if everything is not concrete, it's just sand. That's all it is. And on the left side, that you say, let me show you this picture. That you say this, not the other one.
This is this is a recent,
Yes.
it's a map, and this overlay is the state of Connecticut's best estimate as to where wetland soils are. They're saying
Okay.
wetland soils are on this side of the line. Now, I'm gonna leave one more second. This line is directionally correct. It is not exactly accurate. They did not go to everybody's property and put, dig holes, because that's how you define wetland soils. So there's probably wetland soils here, but it could be way over here, or it could be way over here. We don't know for sure. So, go.
And the other reason why you see a tree work there, it's because, I don't know if you remember, last August 19, it was when the rain allowed and all happened, Oxford and all that, right?
Yep, the microburst.
Yeah.
That was 2018.
No, last year.
No, the storm we had last
The
year.
August storm.
Yeah.
Oh, the August storm,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and the back of the property, I
What-
don't know if I can draw some.
What-
So, in the back of the property goes as like a small creek of water.
Ah, we
Yes.
love those, little water courses, yep,
Yeah.
okay,
So, this goes like this and goes on the other side.
okay,
Goes like that and comes from the back of Mrs. Linda, that's in the back of
Okay.
that. Also comes from the culvert that comes from the road that's up here.
okay.
That I think is the road up there. It's what's town
Ox.
no town road.
Tower Road, okay.
Tower road. I'm sorry.
I get
Tower.
lost in these areas,
Yeah.
Green Ridge and Tower, I get lost over there
Yeah,
all the
Tower
time.
road. Tower road comes like this and
Okay.
goes down.
Yep,
So, especially in the rainy season, this creek becomes a river.
yep,
And all falls here because it comes water from this side and
Yep.
this side.
yep,
And we started cleaning because we had, like, I have kids. I have 2 kids and a dog.
okay, good,
Trees like this
yeah,
hanging, and you can.
okay, yeah,
They're in the back of the property. They're still there.
yep,
I didn't know, and I didn't know I was doing something wrong. And like I said, I'm not here to. They almost look the same, but they're not.
well, I see you took down 2 dead trees back there?
I didn't took
Those
this
are
one
still
yet.
up.
Said they're
Oh,
still
they're
there.
still there, okay,
They're still
yeah,
there.
okay.
And there's
Oh.
this one's also on the back too.
Alright.
So we start cleaning because Mrs. Linda, she had it worse. So she started cleaning on the back of property. So now and instead of the limit of her property and mine, so everything looks like if I was doing it too. And I was cleaning everything that came from that small creek that becomes a river.
Mm-hmm,
And that's why it looks like a lot of bushes and all that. I was taking trees down, but to be honest, I was only I bought a couple of white pines to plant it.
okay,
And that's the reason why I was. It looks like because I was planning, so the creek follows. I bought like. To be honest, I bought
so
like.
where are these? These pines are in here?
Yes.
Okay,
here.
all right, so you got pines on your lawn, or over on hers, or close?
Oh no. It's to be honest, it's nothing to get built here. It's just a piece of land there that gets a lot of water there.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yep,
but it doesn't get it's not well like a wetland. That's why I didn't.
okay, hang on. Wetlands are, that's based, the only way to know about wetlands is soil types. It's not water,
Okay, I'm
okay?
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. A lot of people don't know that. That's why I'm
So
sharing
that's the
that with
reason
you.
why we plant those pines here.
Okay.
So it holds the soil there too.
Yeah.
That was the reason why we made all this. But
Okay.
like I said, I didn't know it was a wetland, and I don't know what to do to.
Okay, well, we're gonna help you with that.
Quick question. What are these 3 things right here next to the volleyball court area?
Oh, I made a bench.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
for,
you- But it's made out of logs.
I'm sorry?
It's made out of tree log?
No, no. Oh, it was, they're not even there anymore. It was, like,
Looks like stumps or something like that,
yeah,
or chairs or something.
something like that, yeah.
Because it looks like a lot of tree stumps there.
But that's a couple years ago.
Were they tree stumps?
No, they cut a tree,
And then they made a bunch
and
of
eventually
stools?
like seats, like
Oh,
a,
look at that. Looks like Stonehenge, but Treehenge.
yeah. And when I moved there, the septic guys, they just leave the trees there, that's why. They just cut it and leave it at the back, they push everything on the back.
Okay. All right, well,
I don't think we have a wetlands permit for the septic. I will double check on that. How long ago was the septic replaced?
It was before I bought the house.
right.
I think I think guys know the septic was done because I got a letter, I received a letter like two years ago,
Okay.
a year and a half, saying like, you gotta, clean your septic from the town, so I'm assuming.
Everybody got that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
But I
part,
didn't do the septic, I bought it with a new septic,
So you bought the house in 22?
yes,
February 22? Okay.
yes.
all right. All right, well, it looks to me, like I said, from the 2019 map, which is before you bought it. Before you bought it, there are, and there's two things we're gonna think about. First, there is this commission worries about 3 areas. We worry about watercourses, the little creek back there. We worry about wetlands, which is defined by soil types, not by visible water. And then we worry about, and that is an area which you can define. And then there is what the state calls an upland review area. And that's, some people will call it like a buffer area. And so as it relates to watercourses, we have to regulate any activity that's in the watercourse, in the wetlands, or in the upland review area. And the upland review area from a wetland line, right? Because you can actually get to the point where you can say, here's the property, it's square, right? If there's wetlands here, wetland soils, it's 75 feet from the wetlands. And again, it's called an upland review area. People think about a buffer. So anything that happens here or in here requires a permit, okay?
Like I said, I'm sorry, but I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. Well, I understand that. I understand that.
Before I forget something.
Yeah.
The water creek that you have it here in the back, I'm sorry, can I?
Yeah.
finish? That's here, right?
Yep,
It comes from the pond that's on the back of this the
okay.
property.
Yep,
Because this one gets full.
Yep.
And comes back on it, and it comes from the road that's from
Yep.
Tower Road.
yep, that's
So-
very common.
So it comes from this side,
Yep.
and it comes from this side, and that's when we come back. When it rains, it becomes a river.
Okay. That happens all across town, that happens all across
Oh.
Connecticut, happens
Also on
all
the
over
other
the
side,
places.
too.
Yeah. This buffer area from wetlands is 75 feet. From a water course, it's 100 feet. Okay, so again, this water course looks like it's off your property, but anything that happens on your property within 100 feet of that water course, which is about 2 inches, requires a permit on this map if 1 inch is 50 feet. So it's hard to really judge, again, you got this water course, whether you're this nifty little volleyball court is within 100 feet of the water course, but it certainly looks like, again, from this map, that it is in wetlands soils. So the volleyball court also requires a permit. And we can do this, again, we can kind of do that retrospectively, but we do need to think about these trees, which is odd, because I said it looks like, there certainly were 2 here, but it certainly looks like there's 1, 2, 3 that were here in 2019, 1, 2, 3.
They're still there.
Well,
The problem is that when you see it right now, the difference of those 2 pictures is
Yeah.
the time of the year.
yeah, I can kind of see there's something here, but I can't really tell. And you're saying when you were out there,
It looked pretty clear
Okay, but if you had the chance to go out there and stand on the
I did.
volleyball court, you could determine if there are still 3 trees right adjacent to that
I absolutely
volleyball.
could, and I
Okay.
did not go on the property, this was only a drive-by
Yeah,
inspection.
okay.
So,
Would you, like I said, it would be, I think it would be helpful to the process to confirm your, your assertion that those 3 trees are still there. With, either you could take some pictures and send them to us, or set up an inspection and have Laura come out and take a look at those 3 trees, whether they are there or they are not there. Okay? And that will resolve the problem of what the problem is.
Of course, I can do that.
Okay?
Because I was looking for the pictures, but I think I took about, it's better if you go, like you say, or when can we,
Well, you can talk, you guys can give her a call tomorrow, give her, try and set up a time in the next, say by the middle of next week. Not this week, but by the middle of next week, because we're gonna meet again on May 12th. Oh, thank you.
It appears that this one is not there.
Yeah, that's,
This one looks like it may still be there.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the neighbor's
there's kinda
property.
something there
It
in there,
is.
yeah.
But this one, I don't think
Yeah, it's definitely gone.
is still there.
Yeah, now I don't know whether that's in the upland review area or not.
Right.
I don't really know.
the one that you saying,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this one here, I don't think it's in the review area.
It might not be.
No, because this one, it was too close to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one, it's gone. All these, they're still there, even this big one here too.
Okay, all
Because
right, well,
this
that's
one-
what we're gonna confirm.
This big one is
And
also.
what the
is-
line's
is
right
angled,
about
Yeah.
but
here, right?
it does a lot of shadows, so.
Okay. All right, well, we can, like I said, we can confirm your thinking here.
Story.
You can, yeah, confirm your story. The other thing, now depending on what the answer is to that, if they are there, this matter goes away.
well, we still have the matter of the volleyball court
Oh,
and
right.
any work that was done within the upland review
Right,
area. So I
right,
would still
right, right,
think that
right.
we would need to.
Yeah,
to
so
do
now we're
some
gonna
form of
need
permitting.
we need a permit. So, another thing to think about is, I know you said you're not familiar with wetlands, and a lot of people are not, but the fun of coming to these meetings is now you are. So, you have a choice, okay? It's your choice. You can decide how you want to proceed. It's important to us to know where the wetland line is, because that helps us determine what is regulated and what is not. That is, what requires a permit versus what does not. You can go with the state line, with what the state has told us. They think the line is, and as I mentioned to you before, it is not 100% accurate. It could be a little bit this way, or it can be further that way. We don't know. The only way to know, and this is a choice that you can make, is to have a Connecticut licensed soil scientist come to your property. You get a contract with him, you pay him, and they will dig a few holes, and they will determine if there are wetland soils on your property. There may not be. There may not be. We have found where these maps, again, are, there is just some variability in it. If you choose to go that route, you'll know precisely where the wetlands are. Okay? I don't know exactly what these guys are charging. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's usually a morning or something like that. They come out, they'll dig some holes, they'll do some looking, they'll dig some holes, and then they will help, you will know precisely where the wetland soils are. So those are your two choices. You can live with this map that the state provides, which is mostly accurate, or you can get an accurate assessment of wetland soils on your own.
So the accurate, if, let's say I wanna do it with accurate, right?
Mhm.
It will help me just to verify if I wanna build something pretty much,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
But I don't think I'm building anything there.
Well, we're gonna have to deal with the volleyball
Well,
court,
I
but yeah.
understand that, so, if we see, if we take a look at this line,
Mhm.
so the only thing that you were saying to avoid everything is to move my volleyball field to this side, and don't, no, it's just, but if I make, the contract with a different, if they say no, that, the wetlands, the wet soil, it's
Yep.
not even there. It was
Yep.
like, I just come to you and you just approve it. It's not wetlands or so the volleyball.
The volleyball court can probably, again, it's not a problem if it's in the upland review area. If it's in wetlands, which it looks like it is, according to this map, that's a problem. It's gonna need to be moved. That's my opinion. I'll ask there's 3 commissioners here.
Because it's no, like I say, it's not concrete, it's just sand.
It's okay, you have filled wetlands. Okay? And that is a concern. And the number of times that wetlands get filled in this town, you can count on the fingers of just a handful or 2. Okay? And not simply for a matter of convenience, like a volleyball court. So that's something I would ask you to think about. You know, it's your choice. We will need, eventually, you'll have to determine, you got a couple of homeworks here. Work with Laura, figure out if these 3 trees are here, okay? Decide if you wanna go with this line from the state, or contract with a Connecticut wetlands soil scientist to determine exactly, you can find them on the web.
You don't have anything about referral here?
You can, they're independent businessmen and women, and you can find them just with a search on the web, okay? Call them, and you make a contract with them, like I said, they'll come out, they'll flag where the wetlands are. You can, if you show them this map, they'll tell you where they are. They'll give you a report that tells you where the
Can I
wetland
get
soils
any,
are.
Copies of those, of the report that you have there?
Of the GIS maps?
Yeah.
You can, they're also available online. Those were printed right off of the GIS website that we have, through our town website. You can just search. But you can absolutely get copies of them. It's 50 cents a page, and you just have to come into the office and.
I will stop tomorrow.
Okay.
And so the first thing is just to make sure the trees are still there, right?
That's step 1,
Yeah.
yep.
And the second point is the,
Think about,
Yeah,
think
I'm gonna-
about that, because then the 3rd step here is an application that would define what has actually transpired. And you would be seeking approval, for what has transpired, which would be, again, if this is correct, it does appear that this volleyball court is in wetland soils. Okay, and, you can make an application to keep it there. That's what the application would request, and then you would need our agreement, the commission's agreement, to keep it there or potentially move it. Okay? And those applications are also online. You heard us kind of talking about them. If there are descriptions of what you want to do, you're taking down trees, or you're not taking down trees, or you want to put a volleyball court, and you want to put a volleyball court in the wetland soils and in the upland review area.
so what happened with these trees?
What about, those trees are in here?
No, yes.
Yeah,
they're-
and this, just help me, it's good to see them, but they're in here, this
Yes,
area
they're
here?
here.
Yep. If you wanted to take those down, you would need a permit to do that.
So I will have to ask you for permit.
Yep.
and,
Yep, and you can put all that in one application,
Oh, no, no,
right?
I
One,
do it.
one, yeah, you can put the trees, the volleyball court, the whatever, it can all go in this.
Because it's been, like, a constant, every time it's a windy place, especially up there. Every time it got, like above 15 miles an hour, something comes down.
Yep.
Believe it or not, something comes down. I gotta
Yep.
be cleaning every time.
Yep, that happens, that's how Mother Nature runs forests. That
Okay.
happens, the trees come down, and there's reasons to leave the trees in the wetlands, because that tree grew from nutrients that came from those wetland soils. So if you take a tree out of a wetland, you're actually taking nutrition out of the wetland. And so other plants and trees, the new ones that would want to grow there, do not have the benefit of their grandparents' nutrition. So there's reasons to leave trees and plants in wetland soils and let Mother Nature take her, do what she wants to do. Okay, now that being said, if you got wetlands close to the house, we're not gonna let a tree fall on your house. Okay, but that does not appear,
Because with this line, pretty much the wetline is on top of the house of my neighbor.
If they got a tree that is dead and it looks like it's gonna hit their house,
This
we
tree
wanna
is
hear
gonna
about
hit
it. Yeah, well, then it still needs a permit to take it down. But there's no way that I'm gonna allow you guys not to take a tree down that's gonna endanger a
That-
building.
That would be another advantage of having a soil scientist check the soils.
Right.
Because if it's determined where those trees aren't in wetlands, you won't have an issue taking them down.
Right. You would need a permit to take them down,
Correct,
okay?
sorry.
Yeah, you would need a permit. Okay,
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, so it's-
Like I say, I didn't even wanna be in this trouble right now.
we totally get that. We totally get that, and I certainly accept your, because a lot of people don't know.
Because I was here like, 2 weeks ago too, so.
Okay, I know, yeah, we had some, yeah, I do know that.
Okay.
And again, you get wetland soils, there's wetlands creatures that live in there,
So-
there's frogs, there's lizards, there's newts, and your kids can see them. There's turtles.
So that's the reason
That's
why
really cool.
every time I clean it, because they go on back, and the neighbors come too, they play in the creek, so that's why.
Good.
Every time I start cleaning that, so.
You let them, don't be cleaning, leave it, you have to leave stuff there.
Oh, no, the only thing that I clean is that, when, like I said, when it rains a lot, everything comes down.
Like garbage?
Garbage comes from the road.
Oh crap, I'm sorry about that.
And
Yeah, you do gotta get that out of there, otherwise it ends up in Long Island Sound.
not only that, it just comes, like, plastic bottles.
Ah,
I don't
yuck.
know, because there's not many people that won't pay.
Well, thank you for doing that.
It's not just for me, it's just for everyone,
Yeah.
Teach the kids at least to do something.
You gotta teach the kids, right?
Alright, but the other, so I will have to ask her, when we can get arranged, so she can take a look at the trees.
Yep.
And
Just-
I will have to call and let her know when someone is available to.
Make it, yeah, if you can, make a decision in
No,
over
I'm
the
glad
next
with
2
that.
weeks, tell us whether you've contacted a licensed Connecticut wetlands soil scientist. They're gonna have a license number.
Can you write that for me?
Yeah.
Because,
Is it okay here or on the back?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Where? It's a state of Connecticut. Licensed, L-I-S-C-I-N, I always spell that wrong. Licensed soil scientist. And they'll have a license number, okay? And I said that you've decided to go that way,
Yes.
okay? And you're in contact with him and you're under contract, or you're not under contract, or you're waiting for him to come, or whatever, but give us an update.
no, of course, if they will give me a price and I will say, when can they come? Pretty much is what they're gonna say.
I can't speak for them,
But, assuming that's the reason how. That's
yeah,
how the world works, right?
well, hopefully, I said, but it's,
So I'll let you know the day when he's coming out,
Yep.
how long it's gonna take to do all the,
Yep.
all the,
yeah,
procedures
that,
and all that.
and that process doesn't normally take long.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like I said, you don't have a big piece of property, it's easy for them to get to. I would think it's a morning-ish or so. He will dig a whole bunch of holes, and fill them in, but he'll be examining the soil. So if your kids are around, let your kids watch them, okay? Because he'll tell them about the soils. Sandy soils and mottled soils, he'll tell them all about that. That'll be good for them. He'll go away, show them the map. He'll identify, he can write on the map where he found wetland soils, and then he'll give you they usually give you a report. We found this, and we found that, and we found this, and we found that. And then from there, now we'll know exactly where your wetland soils are, and then we can do an application that will either include or not include the trees that are there or not there, or whether the volleyball court needs to be moved or not need to be moved. Okay? Any questions? Call Laura.
Yeah, I thought, all right,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about wasting too much
No,
time.
no, no,
No-
no,
no
no,
need to
that's
be.
no problem. It is no problem.
All right.
We're better than anything on TV. That's what I tell everybody. I've said that 10,000 times.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, now, jeez, holy smokes.
Right across the hall right here. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, another tree removal in wetlands, 230A Wiskaneer Road.
Thank you.
230?
230A.
230A, Wiscaneer
Oh, yes.
Road. This looks like this just came to your attention, right?
This did just come to my attention.
Okay. So we got a notice of
Yes.
violation. Did you hear from them?
This is a letter of violation. I was out on the property. I'm sorry, I had to refresh my memory for a second on which one that was. I was out on the property. This is a very odd one. According to my maps, there is no wetlands on the property.
Okay.
When I went out there is a water course on the property.
Oh.
I received a complaint from a neighbor. When I walked on the property, it's pretty clear there's a small little water course, I don't believe it's named, that runs through the property. He was informed to submit an application,
Very cool.
I believe by this meeting, but I might have said by May 12th, so let me just double check.
I didn't see one.
Okay, no, I asked him to submit an application. I have not heard from him yet. But when I was out on the property, he was quite cooperative and showed me quite the tour. He had gone in, this is an interesting one again, like I said, our GIS maps show 0 wetland swales.
Huh, again, they're not 100%
They're
accurate.
not
and-
100%, but when I
Right.
was out there, I saw indications of skunk cabbage, and it's clearly a little water course that
Very
runs
cool.
through it.
All right.
So he acknowledged the fact that there was a water course. I do remember this gentleman, he had come into the office on several occasions to make sure he didn't need any other permits. So I'm kind of surprised we haven't received anything yet.
Okay.
I would like to send him another letter.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if he actually lives at this address that I have as his owner of record. If not, I might just drive by because I caught him outside last time.
Okay.
He is aware not to do any work near the wetlands. There's a big chunk of his property where he is doing work that is not near the wetlands.
Okay.
I have seen him out there actually now a few times, so yeah.
Okay.
So I expect for us to have an application by the next meeting.
All right, well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's good. Those GIS maps are, I don't know, it's like 50/50.
It is 50/50.
It's 50/50.
I've never seen one that was 100, I've seen a lot more yeses than nos, and
Yeah.
the opposite. Like a lot where it will show it's wetlands, and then a soil scientist will come out there and prove that it's not. More than I've gone out to a site where it shows 0 wetlands in the area,
Yeah.
and it's clearly a water course.
Yeah, I don't know, on the GIS maps, I don't think I've ever seen them identify a water course.
If there's tiny little, I can normally tell by the contour lines or
Okay.
something that shows
Ah,
this,
okay. All right,
I didn't see it at all.
okay. All right, I know why you're here. Sir, why are you here?
Nothing on TV.
Yeah, well, I get that.
I'm here for,
He's next.
the 17 Cove Road, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Okay.
Old business.
All right, well, we're gonna do old business first, and then Dave, we're gonna go to you, okay? All right, so we don't have public hearings, so let's go to a W-25-8 17 Cove Road, tree removal and remediation.
Hi,
All right,
Um,
let me get this application, bear
sure.
with me. Did you name and address?
my name is Peter Scott. I'm an architect engineer representing the applicant. And the applicant is Joan Draper, and she's at 17 Cove Road in Brookfield, Connecticut. And basically, what they did is, like everyone else, she hired someone and they went a bit wild,
This is right on the river, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
cleared all the
Remember
hillsides.
Yes.
So before
did-
you get too far, let me just take a quick look at this application here. So, let's see, so we've got tree removal previously and replanting, disturbed wetland area, excuse me, .0 acres. Okay. all
There's
right,
some pictures in there of the view
Yeah,
from the water.
Okay,
Yeah, I get pictures, but I can go over it. I just lost the numbers.
what's that? What happened?
Rob stepped out.
Oh, okay,
We lost the phone number.
Yes.
No.
okay, let's give him a second
Give him a
here.
minute to get
Oh,
back.
wait, I'm
Okay.
in a rush.
Just for a little background information, because I believe you weren't here the last meeting, did you see this?
I missed the
presented before?
24th.
Yeah, she wasn't here for this one.
I wasn't-
Okay, so she wasn't here for this one,
That,
that's
that's
why.
why I was saying there's some photos in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This was a violation that got notified to me by First Light. They actually contacted me, and made me aware of it. First
Okay.
Light has since made them come up with a remediation plan, and I asked for a submission to this commission. And the remediation plan and the submission after already having a presentation once.
Great.
Just as a quick background.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, let's wait for
sure.
Rob to
I can
return
walk you right
here.
through it.
Well, while we're waiting for him,
So I gave you a site
just
plan.
tell me, what are these? These are the ones that were taken out, these
Yes.
numbers? These numbers were the ones that were taken out?
There's a list right here to the right of that. That's all the trees, 33 trees.
Holy moly.
A lot of them are small, but you can see they're kind of small, but a couple big ones in there. A double maple, I think, was in there, and a couple oaks,
And some hickories and
hickory.
some oaks. Oh,
So when I got there, so first light came along, I put a stop work order on it. I went there and the logs they're still on the property, so we were able to identify the species by what's laying around. But, they made it into a jigsaw puzzle of trees. It was a haphazard removal, just dropped them in any direction they can. So it's a big pile of trees on top of each other. In reference purposes, this is the parcel overall, and this square right here
Uh-huh.
is the area which is blown up where the trees were removed. So there's many other trees in the property. There's dense evergreens, hemlocks, which I can't believe are still alive, to the west of that, right here.
No, actually, a lot of them are doing okay in Brookfield. But that's okay. A lot of the hemlocks are doing all right so far.
They lost a lot in other towns.
Oh,
but
yeah, they have.
Fairfield. So there's a pool here and an existing house, and this is very steep grade. It's 30 or 40%
Yeah.
grade, and it gets leveled to about 15% to 18% grade at the bottom. And there's an existing stone wall. An old road used to run along here.
So make note, Rob has returned here. Okay.
So what we did is, I went and looked at all the stumps and looked at all the trees. I had to use ropes to climb it. We did it, one of my guys, and we recorded all the trees. And so basically, we then submitted a plan to First Light, which has been accepted.
Okay.
And
So
then
we
I
don't
did
need to, you don't need to take your time telling us about that.
So what we did is we decided to mitigate it, and how we mitigated it is we basically, there's full of Japanese barberry and multiflora rose. It's always a fun thing around here.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna remove all this on the steep slopes.
I'm sorry, you're gonna remove the invasives?
Yeah,
Okay, how?
dig them up.
Okay.
And basically, in Connecticut, there's the ordinance, you can burn them. And that's kind of, we do a lot of that. And that would be this slope here. And then we get to the 50-foot buffer area, and what we did is we had planting zones, which basically you could walk on. And here, we're planting this whole hillside.
Wait, I'm a little, what's this 50-foot buffer area? I don't understand, 50 feet is not,
This is relative to First Light. So we
Is
basically.
that their terminology for?
Yeah. So what we're doing is I'm putting a wildflower mix on the entire hillside. We're planting it and seeding it, so we can get some understory growing pretty
Okay.
quickly. And in that, there's some fescues and there's fast-growing grasses.
are you gonna need to put
stabilize
soil
it.
in if it's very rocky?
The soil, there's a lot of mulch on the surface due to leaf mulch matter.
Okay.
And there is topsoil, and it's intermittent, because what you do is you got some rocks exposed in certain areas, but then you got a lot of till below it. So we're gonna seed everything we can on the hillside itself.
So you're gonna need silt fence for all this?
I have a plan with that on it somewhere.
So which
They
of
show
your
the silt fence
remediation,
around the
I should be
bottom.
looking at, what, SY2, is that?
Too, yes.
So where's the silt fence on this
You're
plan?
showing the silt fence right along the bottom here.
Right here. That's
Ah,
why,
thank you.
that's it. The whole thing has silt fence.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this all stabilized here, and then in terms of plantings, what we're doing is, when I came the last time, which was 2 meetings ago.
Yeah.
I have a whole series of, I have understory trees, a little smaller. I got large to medium shrubs. I got some steep slope plants. I got herbaceous grasses. And then I added 2 extra red maples were asked for at the last meeting. We added them, one here and one here on the property to sort of get some mass of growth along that for the shoreline. But so
So, well, okay, so they took out a whole bunch of hardwood tall trees, maples, cedars, hickories, and ashes. And
Yes.
you're proposing to replace them with shrubs and understory trees.
Well, two big, large, red maples.
Where? I don't see that.
Here. Oh,
Where?
I revised the plan. I was supposed to bring it with me.
Okay, so you got something that we don't have.
Yes, at the meeting, they said we didn't have to submit anything, but when I read the memo from you guys, you said you wanted a map to show them. And so all I did is I amended it and added the 2 trees
Okay,
here.
wait, okay, so this is the one we should be looking at. You want us to look at this SY2.
Well, I just added 2 trees to it, that's the only difference.
Oh, okay, but we're gonna have one report, right? So we've got a new,
Yeah, it's more.
okay, so, but it's still, we took out, I don't know how, this,
42 trees.
you took, I know that, but in, again, for what we care about, sorry to make it complicated.
Yes.
I know, it has to be complicated. Because, where's the,
Well, I'm
here's the
putting in-
here's the 210, so I don't care, I can't care about anything here.
Yes.
I can't.
Yeah.
They care about that, so
Yeah.
I'm worried about these guys. So this is, does this number T1
Yes.
go
golf
to
course
this
farm.
thing?
Yes, they did.
All right, so we took out ashes, maples, cedars, hickory, maples, I'm going up to 16, right?
Yep,
Unknowns, because we don't know, cherries and maples,
yes,
and it's full of invasives.
yes.
And you're planning to replace it with two hardwood? Am I saying that right? Only two hardwood trees and 3 understory trees.
I can't get anything on this hill, it's that steep. It's 65%. It's, basically, you need a rope, we use ropes to get up.
I know, it's very steep.
So what we did is we went to an area where it starts flattening out, which basically is right below this 200-foot contour. We started adding everything in that, and that's why we're going to seed above. We have all this plantings on the bottom where we can actually get to it. And actually, there's a road. This property owns a pathway that ends up and comes out right here. Here it is. It comes right here, and you can get down it with a small machine right to this wall. Anything above the 200-foot contour is basically vertical.
Okay, so I just make sure I understand this map. This is everything above the 210. The 210 is,
It's actually right here. 210's right there. I'm here. I'm here. I'm working in this area here. I'm doing nothing but seeding up in that area.
okay, all right, again, I'm not trying to make it complicated for you, but from our standpoint, the water is down here, right?
Yes.
Okay. I can't care about anything below the 210.
Yes.
I can only care about anything above.
Yes.
So let's just talk about everything above the 210. Okay?
Yep.
You can deal with first light on everything else. So this map is 210, so I
Yes.
care about this. Where's the planting detail for this, like this?
Purely seeded. We're
So
seeding it.
you took out 10 trees, 10 big trees, and you're saying you can only put
Yes.
grass.
Yes, it's 65 degrees.
I know that, but there were trees there before.
Yeah,
So tell me, help me,
Naturally pollinated is the only I can think of. They were small size too. They weren't big ones. There was only one big one on that whole hillside. We only had one large tree, basically, was, I'll tell you where it is.
I got oaks and maples and cedars and hickories and maples.
Number 2. Number 2 was the biggest tree they had there. It was a 16 inch. It was up in here somewhere.
We got stump diameters of 14. That's a
That's
big
one.
tree.
That's the oak. That's number
Okay,
2.
but 8, that's not inconsequential. 2
No.
inches, I agree, that's not very big. I agree with you there. So yeah, you had at least 3, 6 inches. That's a good sized tree. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Cedars,
1,
some
2,
cedars,
3, 4,
80
6,
cedars
4.
on that, yeah.
Am I counting right here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees that were over 6 inches in diameter,
That's correct.
and the rest were small.
Right.
And you're saying right now you don't think you can plant any 2-inch caliper trees in that area?
If I do, I'll be just basically tearing the hillside up to get there. I can't come from above, because this is a retaining wall at the top, which is about 10 feet high, and it's built up off the hillside, and you have to go over the cliff to get to the site. There is a small area here you can go to as well, but it's all big rock, big boulders right in here. So it's all boulders and a cliff with a big wall on it.
So how do you
So-
think the contractors got in there to cut these down?
They walked to the top. They walked with their chainsaws. They didn't remove anything.
So it's
They were
all
too
laying
lazy.
there still?
All chainsaws. They just cut them and dropped them. They never got to clean it up.
Okay, so all that stuff's still laying there.
It's all laying there.
Okay.
It just fell down the hill in a big pile.
All right, so here's my next question. I see the 210. Where is the upland review line on this map?
That's a 200
No,
contour.
I
This
need-
is- It's up in this area here. Oh, I mean, up
Where,
on the
because
review.
it's, oh, is it 200 feet from Lenona?
200 feet from the
So
water line.
where is 200 feet from Lenona's down here, right,
It's up
someplace?
the whole hill. The whole
So
hillside.
this area is all in the upland review area?
I'm only at 103.7 feet to the end of this box. That's 103 feet. 200
This-
feet is.
All right, so this is 100 feet. This
Yeah.
is 100, so you are, I'm just trying to confirm,
Yes,
you're in the upland review area.
yes.
Okay,
And the 200 feet for scale would be up here at the patio, upper patio of
okay.
the house.
I'm
right
just
here.
trying to understand.
Yeah.
100
So
feet.
we're, and again, this 100-foot by 70-foot box. Stormwater, most of the stormwater currently is discharged this way because they have these pool drains that dump the water in that direction from this patio. And these are big boulders which kind of funnels the water onto the neighbor over here.
Okay,
So it's pretty, it's dry, there's no, while it's so steep, it's not eroding because no water gets to it. It's all diverted at the top of the hill.
all right, well, you're gonna, it seems to me, for our records, this is the 210?
Yes.
Trying to think, I'm gonna think out loud in terms of what
Yeah, sure.
so our records are really just this and your little note that once the area is cleared of invasives, the hillside to be planted with a wildflower mix.
Right.
That seem like enough
Well,
for
This is
your,
very
hey, just
tricky.
1 second,
This
yeah.
is a very tricky property. It is an extremely steep
Yeah, like
slope
they all
out
are,
there.
yeah.
Just going out there, they have a stairway. I don't know if you have it on the map at
It
all.
is.
That's going down. That was
Yeah, I see it.
quite
I see
precarious, and I
something.
didn't even want the
right
property
here.
owner walking out with me.
Yeah,
It was a comment that was brought up last time, that it was a wildflower mix, and there was a request for at least some large trees to be planted. This is one of those very not necessarily easy properties to work with. I do understand his point, saying he will have to rip up the hillside to do it. It is very rocky, in addition to,
well, that's what I'm wondering, how is wildflower gonna work on rocky soils? And how are they gonna maintain that?
Well, there's, right now, we have, when you take out the barber and everything else, we're creating areas where you can plant this. There's a lot of spoil from the erosion in the past across the rocks. And it's pocketed all over the hillside, not very deep, because it's, it's rocky there, but there's pockets of dirt everywhere on the hill. We'd be planting in pockets and such.
So I think last time you were here, we talked about what was going on the steep upper section
Right.
and requested a couple more big trees.
I did.
So those two were added per our request.
Yeah, but that's below the below
Yeah,
the
but
210.
But the problem is
Can't
that
get the 210.
there, there's no trees that can be planted above the 210.
These are
So we
contour
sort of
trees.
said, well, how about you put something big where you can, as high as you can, where you can, to sort of, I'm not gonna say make up, but at least, put something back as close as they can.
Because I'm putting 40-foot trees and such, and wherever I can at the bottom. These trees I'm planting are small, and I've got gray birch, American hornbeam, I got a dogwood in there. We got hazelnut, black choke bushes, mountain laurel. I'm using whatever I can to sort of find something that'll grow in this environment. I mean, I could push some of these, I guess, could be pushed as far as, if I can push them, I'll do it, up the hillside, but I've walked it, it's almost impossible. I'm not even sure how to get the logs out of there. They might have to rope them and tow them down the hill.
Well, right now,
Oh,
they
right
don't have a
down the river.
permit to take those logs out,
I know that. We're not doing anything.
so so they can leave them.
Yeah.
And this distance here, this 220, this is,
To
how
scale?
far is this from the lake?
It's,
The 220 line to the
30,
lake,
40,
distance, just distance-wise, up the
60
hill.
feet to here.
All right,
210 to
so it's 60
up.
feet. If, I'm gonna talk out loud, if somebody came to us, right, and said, oh, we're gonna try and clear some trees 60 feet from the lake, would I have let them do that? I probably would have. 60 feet from the lake, I probably would have. Someone wants to come and take some trees out 60 feet from the lake, I probably would have let them do that. Probably would have,
Okay,
okay.
Because I'm putting 275 plants.
Yeah, you're not putting a lot of trees back, but I can't do anything on the 210 line, so I'm kinda with these guys. I see if you can find a spot, because we can't decide this today. See if you can find a spot, even outside of this area, right?
Sure.
To put another, what'd you guys tell them?
That
3,
was the
5?
compromise. No, you put two big ones
Put two
in.
big ones
Two big
already.
Like sort of the
Fine.
biggest he could fit in there.
Find another 2. Find
Okay.
some place on that property that you can put another 2 to make up for these guys that are now gone. I'm sympathetic. Again, this is just me talking to, this is a nasty spot. But
Yeah.
try and find an oak, a spot for an oak and a maple and
Two maples, yeah.
2 maples and 2 oaks, okay?
Okay, fine, fine.
See if you can find someplace to put some 2-inch caliper trees in there to kind of make up for what
Anyway,
Mother
just
Nature
make
has
that
lost.
conditional tonight, and I'll just give you a plan showing 2 more. I mean, I could, that's no problem. I could,
Just get it,
Put 'em on
if you can, and not over here, but someplace
Yes.
here, we're gonna put oak here, oak here, oak here,
Yes.
whatever.
fine.
Do that, get that to us,
Okay.
and I think that's, and right now, whatever there stays. So
We're not
you're gonna-
touching it. I haven't
Yeah,
been
so
there
if they
in
take out
8
this
months.
barberry and, what do you say, multiflora rose, that can come out, but the stumps and the trees stay.
We haven't touched it. You can't, it's so bad, the logs, you can't touch the site. It's like,
Oh, I've
it's like
looked,
pick up sticks.
this is, you gotta really like living by the lake to like these places, so, which I guess they do. All right,
You need to see me again?
yes,
or-
well, you give us the plan, and
Give us the
then
plan.
if you get the plan and it's clear where
Yeah,
they
sure.
are,
Yeah.
so that Laura can go out when they're planted.
Yep.
And this, this is done. Now, we're gonna have 4 trees, do we want a bond?
I did put a bond
There is
together.
a planting bond.
Okay, so you gotta
I
plant,
put a full one.
Yes.
I'm bonding everything. We don't mind doing that.
okay, I don't think I can hold a bond for anything below the 220 line. I can't hold a
where
bond for
everything
that,
is.
I'm not
You
gonna,
revised the bond, I didn't even think about the beyond.
right, I can't,
Okay,
I
I'll just
can't-
put trees on it then.
It would be whatever you're planting.
Yeah, above the 210.
the
above
2,
the-
yeah, the 2, yeah, the
That's
4
what I
trees,
wanted.
native.
Can we say they're above the 210, but they're not? I'm not sure I can get above the 210, but I could get close to it.
At someplace on the property,
Yes.
okay? Someplace on the property,
No problem.
get 4, which will make up for the 6 big ones that they
Yes.
took out,
Done.
okay?
2 now, 4 more.
4 more.
Yep.
Tell
How
us
about
where they
2
are.
oaks and, you want some cedars? There were cedars there before, or,
They're having a tough time,
okay.
but I'm happy. If they're cedars and you think they can live, terrific. That's a great little tree.
There's a hickory, so I'll go into a list what they took out.
Just something native,
Yes,
an oak, a maple, something that was taken out, right? You
Yeah,
took
I
out
imagine.
maples and hickories and cedars, you took out 6,
Want cherry?
that would be awesome.
Well, we'll do it.
Okay,
There'll be 6 total.
okay.
Done.
On this map, you can have this back.
Yeah, thanks.
We will probably set a bond for those
6
I'll give you
trees.
the
6
number.
trees.
I use planner's choice, I get numbers from
Yeah,
those.
okay, so we'll set a bond, so yeah, you probably don't need to be here if it's very clear where they're gonna be, and you give us the bond.
Not a problem.
Okey doke,
Very good, you'll have it tomorrow? Thanks.
all right, thanks,
thank you.
Bye.
Thank you much.
okay. All right, so now I'm gonna make a motion to go to. Let me get this in here. Agenda item, it's new business, agenda item 6B, 25-17, 172 Long Meadow Hill Road. Welcome back, Dave. Great,
What's
Do we
that?
need a
Great.
second for that, or no?
what's that?
Do we need a second?
Oh, yeah, second.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we needed a second. So a
Thank you.
second to go to that. Tom
I second
seconds.
it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
David
Thank
Cole,
you.
192 Wishing Road, Brookfield.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, Dave, let me get the folder over here.
You guys having fun every night like this?
All the time. We sometimes come in when we don't have a meeting, just for the fun of it, yeah.
You just destroyed the trees in Southbury?
Yeah, I've heard that from a couple of people.
You can't use it on a cell phone.
Was it $500,000?
I don't do the social media, but even that is very hard to use.
That's
Okay.
I think most people's problem, they can't submit applications on
It's
cell
very,
phone.
very difficult. I actually had to get with Ann to actually work it, to get the application through, so it is hard.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess we buy that
I don't know
app
why.
from somebody, so it's
The
not,
building department stuff is fine. I don't know why it's so hard for the wetlands.
Because
just
it's a
crazy.
two-step process for wetlands. We can discuss, I have a solution, you might not like it, but I do have a solution.
it doesn't matter to me, somebody they print it out to me, so. All right, Dave, why are we here? We have an application, let's just take a quick look at it, okay? As we always do, is we got an application for a single-family dwelling with a driveway, septic system, and a well. So you got disturbed wetland area of 1,178 square feet, and disturbed linear feet of watercourse is 30. Okay, so why are we here?
So, a lot of things happened since the last time I was here. We were talking about putting maybe a culvert through or trying to come up with a better solution. So I got with Mike Mizuko, and he's done this before up in Sherman on something that was difficult like this. He actually put a 4-foot round diameter pipe in, buried it halfway into the ground, and let it fill back in. So you get a 4-foot wide flat crossing underneath that animals can go through and stuff, but you still get a nice area for the water to flow through. I don't have to put footings in, I don't have to put a retaining wall in now because we can keep it lower. So for this site, I think it works pretty well. We moved away from the property line. We're gonna be able to just have a slight grade on either side, so we don't have to have all the retaining wall footings that were in here before. I don't know if you remember, this was right against the property line, and there was an 8-foot high retaining wall here. I also talked to land use a little bit and found out that this really is not a common driveway. It does not have to be paved 18 feet all the way up here. This was approved as just a driveway. So it doesn't have to be as wide as it was, so I was able to make it narrower here, just put a 12-foot driveway in. We came up with doing some more retention up here and trying to put some drainage behind the house here in case when we dig here, if we have to, we can put a small curtain drain here. Actually come down to a area here and take care of this water and divert it over here. So we're trying to come up with a better solution on the site all the way through. So.
High temporary sandbag dam bypass pumping system during construction of the culvert, pump to a settling basin, the location that allows construction. Is that defined here someplace? This little note
Yeah,
here?
it shows a little note there that.
Is that, where does that happen? Is that on the plan here someplace?
Right up in this area here where the low spot is, I'll just have to pump around here where I'm but this is gonna be a very quick thing. I'm not gonna do it till it's dry, like August or something like that too, so I'm gonna try to get a spot where it's really dry and just, put this crossing in as carefully as I can so we don't have any problems with, making any more of a mess in here like the other plan was.
Okay, well, we're gonna need something that describes where this goes, where this settling basin is going to be. I
It's
mean,
not a settling, it's really just putting the sandbags in the water course to pump the water around it while I dig the hole for a day.
well, I'm just reading what it says, Dave. It says pump to a settling basin in a location that allows construction of the culvert. Just tell me where that
Oh,
settling
the
basin.
settling basin would have to be just below here, and that would just be a temporary
Okay,
that
but
was
we're gonna need something that
Okay.
describes where that's going to
Where it's
be.
gonna be on the map.
Okay,
Yeah, that's obviously gonna have to be right below either side here. So,
all right, here's, I have some ideas, but I don't wanna jump on, I've got some ideas, but I don't wanna over talk you guys, so I'm gonna give you guys a chance to ask your questions, cause I got some ideas here.
I'm open to what you have to say. I mean,
Okay.
I,
Well, here, okay,
How
Think it-
wide was the water course that we were going over?
how
Again,
wide was the water course?
Yeah, I can't remember how wide it was.
It's pretty narrow, I think it's only like a 30-inch pipe, you can see it actually here, it's narrower than the 4-foot pipe we're putting in.
it's,
Okay.
the water course, yeah, I went out to see it, the water course itself is rather,
Rather,
it's
rather
probably a foot-ish or so-ish. There's wetlands on either side of it, and it is down in a little bit of a gully.
Yep.
And then there's more wetlands. There was something else, again, in wetlands. It didn't, it seemed like a little like a beginning of a water course, but it definitely was kind of wet, sort of like over here. So I think it gathers some water from here and then the hill, and then this is what starts the big wetlands that's, on the west side of Long Meadow Hill.
You know what I could do is when we're putting this, I'm gonna drill this well before we bring all this up in here, so I can actually set the well rig up, like I was saying, and we're gonna have a silt pond here to do that. I can actually use this to pump into right now, when I'm putting the pipe in. I can go across and just put a little, silt pond here by where I'm gonna drill the well.
Is that on the construction
it is right here.
sequence?
Yeah, the construction sequence is next page. Someplace here.
Property notes, general notes,
Construction
specifications.
sequence right here.
Where? On
Um,
the second
erosion
page?
control down, it's number B.
second one down, the right-hand side.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm reading upside down, but someplace it says,
install anti-tracking gravel, that's
down in the driveway.
that's in the driveway.
Yeah,
Clear and grub site to allow construction of wetland crossing,
obviously I have to cut the trees to get across.
okay. Strip and stockpile topsoil from areas of disturbance,
That would be going down the driveway towards the area.
install the wetland crossing. So you're gonna install the wetland crossing, which is what? Because you said
The
you're,
pipe that we're talking about.
so that's the pipe, and then you're gonna do the well.
Right, once I get to the other side, before I do any more construction here and raise the driveway up so I can't set the well rig up, I'll drill the well. So I'll put the wetlands crossing in so I can get the rig on the other side, but before I start raising up to get to the house, I'll have a flat spot to set the well up. At the same time, the same silt pool that I'm gonna use to drill the well with to catch this stuff, I'll use first to put the crossing in, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, Dave, here's my thinking right now. I said, I know you weren't here when the CCA plan
Sure.
was presented. Everybody acknowledged back then that this is a tricky
Sure.
spot to get across everybody, and, they did propose the open box culvert. They also did propose to fill really a very small amount of wetlands, I think it was very small. It was like 10 or 20 square feet. It wasn't a lot. And one of the things that I try to do, I won't speak for these guys, is, when we fill wetlands, we have public hearings.
Mhm.
But I didn't bring it up because it was very small. And it just seemed like, the word would be like de minimis. So we didn't have a public hearing
Mhm.
for that filling just because it was really small. And we even asked, and we even gave them some leeway. I said, we've only had to do this a handful of times
Sure.
in Brookfield. Most of the other guys have found a way to put like a created wetland in. And I know we talked about that, and even going out to the site, I don't know where you would put that.
Yeah.
So we kind of, in my humble opinion, I kind of went this far, past what we would normally do, and I think for good reason. But now we're talking about filling almost 1,200 square feet of
No.
wetlands.
I'm not doing anything different.
You're filling 1,178 square
I
feet
have
of
that on
wetlands.
there wrong then. I took that off the old application, Cause they didn't change anything.
Yeah, but you're gonna put a pipe in here, right?
Right, but they were putting retaining walls in that were 4 feet apart and filling it
Okay,
in.
I'm just going on what's on the application,
Okay.
and so now here's where I'm coming out. This requires a public hearing. That's where I'm coming out. This project, maybe we should have done it on the other one, thinking back, maybe, but this definitely requires a public hearing. And I'm also thinking about, some third-party reviews, because this is a modification, a third-party review with a wetland soil scientist, to give us, the three of us, or the four of us, or whoever's on the commission when we do this, some insight about the impact of this modification to the original. Because we don't have anything that you're providing there. So I'd like to do that. Get that third-party review, and then I'd also, and I did talk to Beecher, I'd also like to have, an engineering firm take a look at the original one and this one and provide us some input on their thinking about which is, the advantages and disadvantages of both options. So that's where I'm coming from.
So can I just respond to you a little bit?
Yep.
They're filling all of this in their upland review area. I'm not doing much different, I'm just putting a culvert in there and maybe filling it right. I don't understand what the difference is. They're going 8 feet high, I'm only going 4 feet high. They're putting a huge retaining wall with a footing all the way across here. I'm doing much less invasive,
That's what I need, and I appreciate what you're saying. That's what I need, I need a peer review on the appropriate way to deal with this very challenging property. Because I understand culverts and big culverts but it's still a culvert, dropping it into the wetlands and into the water course, requires a little bit of, expertise to get it right. So that's where I'm coming from.
I just can't see how you can't see that this is a much less invasive plan than doing all these footings. Because if that's the case, I think I'm gonna just walk away from the job because there's no way it can be done. And for me to go tell this guy to hire experts and spend more money after he'd already spent 25 grand to get something that wasn't even approved, I don't think it's fair to the guy, because he had no idea what he was getting into.
Yeah.
And I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. I don't know how hard it is to put a 4-foot culvert in at the right height and do what Mike's proposed and still have a 4-foot opening for everything to go through, and it's I don't know. I'm shocked, because I thought that we came up with a much better alternative to what you had, and whether you're upset that you approved something that you probably shouldn't have.
I'm not upset, I'm not upset.
But I think the commission approved something they shouldn't have, but I don't think this guy should be penalized for that being for what engineers did to him already before by hiring more engineers to, I guess we're looking at it two different ways.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the kid because.
I do too.
There's no way that, they should, I don't know.
So, when the plan was originally approved, there was a de minimis filling of wetland.
Yeah, right before the.
And now, as the plan is before us, is there any more filling of wetlands?
It's just the same amount that they were doing. They were
It's
putting
the
an
same-
8-foot high retaining wall.
It's the same de minimis amount?
They were digging.
Let's say the original amount was 20 square feet,
Uh-huh.
and the board, the commission said, that's too small for public hearing. We're gonna let that go. So that was the original number was 20 square feet was gonna be filled in. What's the number we're looking at right now? Is it 20? Is it 10? Is it 1,000?
It's just the pipe going across, the 4-foot pipe. Different than your plan here. You had 20 feet here before, so I'm gonna have 4 feet on either side of it more that's gonna be filled in instead of the bridge being there by 30 feet. So 4 by 30 is 120 square feet on both sides of the plan, of the pipe. But I'm not tearing this all up and I don't know. I don't need another engineer to say that, yeah, you can't build this, because he already approached an engineer, and the guy said that you have to make the bridge 60 feet long to be able to build it. And he wanted 10 grand just to design the bridge that was gonna cost 100 grand to put in here.
It's a challenging property, it really is. I mean, I look, I say, oh my gosh, because if you go right down, I mean, right at this line, I mean, it goes down into a gully, and then he's gotta come up, you know, to get to the back of it. It's a real challenge. Well, if we set up, again, you can take, talk to your client, but that's my thinking. We'd set a public hearing. I said we can send this out to a Connecticut soil scientist. They can take a look at the modification versus the other one. If they say they agree with you, then that's important to me. If they say this is a better plan, they've got the background, with the license that no one in this room has.
So is that something that the applicant has to hire somebody else to do, or?
We
you guys send them?
we would hire them, he pays, we would hire him, he would have access to the report, so he would get value from the report.
I don't know.
We can talk to him about it.
Yeah, I mean, any
Yeah.
idea how much I'm supposed to be telling them this is gonna cost them now?
You can get quotes.
We can get some quotes and let you know,
All right.
okay? So we'll do that.
Can we hire our own guy if your quotes
You
are higher than we
absolutely
found?
can hire yours, but for this property, I would wanna have a peer review.
Okay.
So the answer is yes, he can hire someone, and we would hire someone for peer review.
Or you can just bill what you approved,
Or he can just build what we
because
approved.
somebody else will try to do it and make
Yeah.
a hell of a mess. So he'll probably do that.
Okay, well.
I don't know what else to tell you, I mean,
Yeah,
I would, right now, I would tell him to go hire somebody who doesn't care and make a mess, because what are you gonna do to him at that point? He's doing what you approved.
well,
So
we
that's,
don't,
but that's what I'm gonna recommend to him. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
yeah,
You have to give him a permit, because it's already approved to do it.
Yep.
Let somebody go in there and make a hell of a mess. I mean, I'm not gonna do it, because I care about it, but somebody else will do it,
yeah.
And then, I don't see how they do any better, but that's probably what I'm gonna recommend to him.
Okay, well, he can't get too much further, because I said we need to see these engineered drawings.
Well, I'm gonna put
you
my
know.
application.
No, for him, on the original one, that, he does require an engineered, crossing there,
The bridge.
the bridge. We need to see that before he
Yeah.
gets too far.
Yeah.
Before he does anything, we need to see that.
Yeah, well, you can have an engineer, that's what I'm gonna recommend to him, I
Okay.
think, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, I wish this property was a lot simpler. I wish it didn't have this gully, because it was very challenging to review, and, it's a very difficult property.
Yeah.
But I have to, my remit is, I said, I have to try and do what is the best long-term answer for for these wetlands. And to me, this is different enough that I want a professional opinion.
All right.
Okay? So, here's what we can do to speed things along. I know you wanna do that. We can set a public hearing. You can call and cancel it and withdraw the application.
Uh-huh.
But we can set a public hearing. It would be a month from now, probably.
But you would need the engineering report before all that, right?
Well, that's why I said, that's why I was asking you some of the questions about this, the construction sequence, because we'll send this to them.
Uh-huh.
If this is it, we'll send that to them for their review. But before that, here's what the sequence will be. We can set a public hearing about a month from now, or we can do it 6 weeks from now. A month from now. We can get some quotes. We can call you with the quotes for the third-party review. You can have the conversation with your client, and then he can make an informed decision
Yeah.
whether he wants to proceed with this, or you guys want to withdraw this and go with the original.
Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna cost them $5 or $8 to do this, spend $5 or $8, have somebody design a bridge and go and make a mess out of it. I mean, that's what I would have to tell them,
Yeah.
So we'll see how much your quotes.
See
are.
what the quotes
I'm
are.
just being honest with you.
No, and
you know.
I totally
It won't be
get
me,
that.
because I won't make a mess like that.
I
but,
totally get that, Dave.
Yeah.
This woke me up at 3 o'clock this morning,
Yeah.
trying to
I'm trying
think
to
about
make
it.
it as best I can. I mean, I was surprised that Crucian and Koval, I shouldn't say Crucian, but the engineers actually showed that as a proposed common driveway all the way up there, because I called the land use office, because I wanna file deeds for these.
Yeah,
You have to have a maintenance agreement for a common driveway.
yep,
Well, they put the common driveway up that far because the driveway to the house has to be 165 feet from the common driveway.
okay.
Well, planning commission approved it just as a driveway, didn't actually approve it as a proposed common driveway, but on your plan, it says proposed common driveway, 18 feet wide.
Yeah, because we wouldn't know.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, well, that's
But
good.
It's good, but in the same sense, it's really not, because it shouldn't have been approved that way, you know? So, it's fine that it's approved that way, I'm not saying we should take it away from them, but
Yeah.
it's just, a lot of things happened here that shouldn't have happened, and I just hate to see, you know, him get penalized for it, you know?
Well, like I said, if you got a great idea, you know, I've said, if you got a good idea, and I want that, that's not coming across correctly, but if this is a good idea, sorry, this is a good idea, I don't think these reviews are tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know, but let's get the quote, and then everybody can make some informed choices,
Sure.
okay?
When they're reviewing it, will he talk to Mike about the thing? I mean, he'll talk to the engineer that designed it, right?
They can through us.
They can,
If-
yes,
yeah.
they would not contact each other directly.
Okay.
It's an independent peer review on the plan. Would it be two?
Two,
or would we
yeah, I
start-
need a wetland soil scientist just to look at the wetland impact and compare the wetland impact from the original one to this one. That's a Connecticut soil scientist, the wetland impact and from the original plan to this one, more or less, impact to long-term impact to the wetlands, long-term impact to the wetlands. That's what I need from the Connecticut
But
soil scientist.
My question to you then is, how are they actually gonna do that review without the retaining wall being designed, so they can show exactly what has to be done? Because that retaining wall had to have all the wetlands dug out and have, you know, compacted soil put in to put the footing back in. So all of that stuff, they just got by without a problem. So if that's not on, in other words, what I'm saying is, if that retaining wall isn't designed already and doesn't go to an engineer to review, he's not gonna be able to say that all that wetlands was disturbed, because it's not on the plan as being disturbed.
Let's see what they tell us. Let's
But
see.
you understand what I'm saying? It's
I-
not gonna be an apples to apples, because he's not really, this plan isn't finalized to be able to be built, because you need the bridge to be designed, you need the retaining wall to be designed, before somebody can actually review it. If what you're talking about is what you wanna do, if you want a wetlands person to review this plan and see which one's gonna be long-term better, he can't really review it until the bridge is designed and the retaining wall is designed, which
Because
shows what
you
kind of
don't-
soils have to come.
You don't have an impact to compare it to.
Right, it's not a comparison, we're gonna be spending money on something that is not comparable.
Well, I'm sort of puzzled because we have a plan that shows a crossing.
Right, but you just said that he can't do this plan until he submits the engineering for the bridge and for the retaining wall.
It's the engineering for that culvert. Now, if that engineering says, oh, no, that won't work,
No, but
right.
you misunderstand what I'm saying.
okay,
If this, and it says right on the original plan that the soils will have to be taken out
yeah,
and compacted with compactable soil to put this whole retaining wall in.
yeah,
That all has to be designed by an engineer before a wetland soil scientist can look at what they're actually doing to see what kind of impact they're having on wetlands.
well, then it should be a very quick review, and then they'll tell us that. No, I'm not disagreeing with you,
Right.
Dave, I'm just saying, I can't confirm what you're saying. I just
No,
can't
what-
confirm it.
Do you understand, I don't know if do you understand what I'm saying? You guys-
I think I do. You can't really compare the impact of one project versus the other because you don't have the first
The
one
other one's
fully
not
designed.
complete. The first one is not completely designed.
So is the review for the new plans or
No,
both
she wants
plans?
to compare the old plan,
This plan,
the long-term impact of the
Well,
old
hang on, let me
plan.
just
This
have
plan-
Sharon tell me.
what's that?
Is the review you're proposing, is it for the new plan
It's
with the
the-
culvert?
the new-
Let's say that the pipe, or is it for both plans?
It's to review the modification, is the modification that Dave is proposing,
Mhm.
is it more or less long-term impact to the wetlands than the original plan?
Okay,
Which is
so-
this. Now, Dave is telling me that this is missing information.
So what he's saying is, when they look at the new plan, they're gonna say, okay, the 50-year impact is plus
I won't
12.
say it that way, but yeah, the
Let's
long-term
just say
impact
it's
is,
plus
yeah.
12.
Yeah,
And they'll say, okay, now let's look at the original plan. What he's saying is they're not gonna be able to give it an impact diagnosis because they don't know what the retaining wall and the bridge impact is gonna be, because those plans haven't been designed yet.
And if that's what they tell me, that's what they tell me.
Okay.
If that's what they tell me, that's what
But if
they
you
tell
just-
me.
I'm just, all I'm
And
saying
then
is we
what
just
he's
simply
asking then is, if that's what they tell you, is that gonna help anything?
Yeah, because now now I will know, because I'll have a Connecticut soil scientist telling me that.
But
you know.
I guess what I'm getting is,
I mean,
we're
I'm
gonna
not,
send a plan to them that they can't really,
They can't do a comparison.
they can't do comparison, cause they don't know that all those soils have to be taken out, and new soil has to be put in and compacted. And there, you know, to do a stack block wall, for instance, you have to put a 12-foot sheet back, and all the soil has to be removed out, and it all has to be compacted, you know, the stackable hand ones that you put in?
Yeah, so if they can't do a comparison, then the new review that the client's gonna pay for is moot.
okay, I am
And
not,
that's what it is, so.
again, with all
Okay.
due respect to Dave, and I think a lot of you, I'm not accepting that they can't look at this and do the comparison. I understand what you're saying, I'm not I'm not agreeing with that. I'm saying this should be enough, well,
Can I
certainly.
just ask you a question?
Yeah,
So if you knew originally when you were designing this, that they had to dig 8 feet, 10 feet wide, all the way through here, and take all the soil out, pour a retaining wall, footing that's 6 feet wide to do an 8-foot high wall, and the same thing on this side, remove all the soil and build it, because for an 8-foot high wall, you have to have a 6-foot wide footing. If you knew that all those soils were coming out on either side, and the same thing here, because they have to do a footing here, all this has to be dug out. They have to put concrete footings in below frost, 42 inches below frost.
yeah,
This is a deep hole they're putting in there. All that wetland soil comes out. And it all has to be filled back in with soil that is compactable.
that is not on, to do.
That's what I'm saying,
to-
for somebody to review this
For
plan.
everything that you just said is probably true. I don't know how to construct this stuff, Dave. That's not here on this plan. All that stuff you just talked about is not on
But a
this plan
wetlands
to
guy is
do.
not gonna know that, because he doesn't know.
That's why I'm
this
also
stuff
gonna have an
do.
engineer take a look at it too. I'm gonna have two, okay?
I don't know. Without being able to talk to them and explain to them how those things have to be built, they're not gonna get a good assessment of what the impact is gonna be on the wetlands for a long term. They, you know, you're asking for something to be done just,
They're gonna do it based on the plan that was approved. I got a professional engineer on this plan.
so you're telling me that I can just go build this right now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so you just told me before I have to have a design first.
Well, you
before
need
do
this,
anything.
you need this. The bridge must be designed by
Right.
a professional structural engineer.
And the
So
footings
that's-
all have to be designed too. All those retaining walls have to be designed. There's a note on there too.
That doesn't say that.
Okay. I don't know.
Because I gotta go on I really have to go on what's on the plan. And again, I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm really not. Because I could definitely see this was not an easy thing to do. So that's the only way I know to go forward here and make sure that I'm getting informed, in addition to you and CCA and Mike, someone that I can rely on. I'm gonna suggest to my two colleagues that we can rely on to help us make the right choice for this property.
So, another question here. So if we assume that tomorrow, your client wants to start on the old,
Uh-huh.
approved project.
Right.
That's gonna require, number one, the plans for the bridge.
Right.
And number two, the plans for the retaining walls.
Right, you have to,
Okay. well,
any retaining
yes,
wall
no.
over 3 feet has to be
So,
designed.
and it doesn't say on that map anywhere about the retaining walls, about what would have to happen if the retaining walls are built.
Someplace on there it says any retaining wall over 3 feet has to be designed by a structural engineer. That's state code. You have to have it designed by a structural engineer.
So the engineer that looks at it, Sharon, would probably have an idea how that retaining wall needs to be built, I would assume.
I would assume so, just because he's a PE, just like these guys. I would assume so. Let me make sure this gets back in the right spot. I don't mess this up.
And
Yeah,
who would foot the bill for the two people who are
It's
reviewing
for the
for
peer
us?
review, and the applicant funds that. We would put out a tender to a couple organizations, a couple wetland soil scientists and a couple engineering firms. We usually pick one, based on price and availability. And then we would let them know what that bill was, and they can say yes or no.
Can I ask that the engineer looks at it first?
Yep.
And comes up with, and actually gives you an idea of what has to be done
Yep.
first?
Yep.
For the retaining wall?
Yep.
Before the wetlands guy reviews it?
Yep.
Does that seem unreasonable?
Nope.
So I would like the engineer that's gonna review it to say what actually has to be done to actually build these retaining walls and to build this bridge.
No, he's not going to design the
I don't want him to
bridge.
design it.
Yeah.
I just want him to give the wetlands guy an idea of how much has to be removed to be able to build this stuff.
Yes, we can do that.
Somebody's gotta make sure that the wetlands guy looking at it knows that all these soils have to be removed and
Yep.
they're not going back.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So give me a call, I guess, when you get some numbers?
Give me a few days.
Yeah, that's
It
fine.
normally takes them a few days to get back to me, but
Yeah.
I'll check some feelers out, and I have a list, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we can set a public hearing, just to start that. And we can always, if we did it like a month out, we don't have to do the notices for
Well, he
2
wants
weeks,
to,
right?
Let me make sure we're gonna do this all first, cause I don't know if
Okay.
he's gonna go for it, so.
All right,
but you
Well, I
said you
think
you
I-
had started
Let
in
me get the numbers-
August.
Let me get the numbers from her.
okay,
You said you would do it in August, so I think there's time for the
okay.
There's
public
time
hearing.
to do the public hearing, I wouldn't wanna do
Yeah,
this
we
in
have
first
some,
try.
we have some timelines. I think we've got to make a decision about a public hearing, I think it's within 35 days of today. So, yeah, we do have
If
some
she gets
time.
me the numbers by the next meeting, I'll have an answer for you by the next meeting, whether he's gonna wanna go this route
Okay.
or withdraw his application and, like I say, if it's gonna be, a lot of money to have this done,
Okay,
he's probably better off having the guy design it and just going and doing it. Somebody else is gonna do it, I'm not gonna, cause it's
Okay.
gonna be a hell of a mess, but.
yeah, and Dave, again, I respect everything that you were
Oh, I
saying. I
understand.
just
I'm
have to
trying to
have,
prove it for
I
you.
gotta have a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta have a little bit more. Okay? All right, stay out of the sun. All right, so I'll make a motion then to, I forgot to make a motion to continue 17 Cove Road 2. So I'll make a motion to continue 172 Long Meadow Hill Road to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And also, as a correction, I forgot to continue 17 Cove Road to our next regularly scheduled meeting, so let me make that motion to move to continue 17 Cove Road to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Tom seconds.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. So both, I did call both motions, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So let's go back to our agenda. I've got old business, W 25-10, 474 Candlewood Lake Road, demolish of 2 buildings. Ooh,
This is the marina?
Oh,
Bullocks
okay.
Marina.
Oh, yeah. I actually had forgotten that name. You just refreshed my memory.
$474.
I think I might be stuck in the past, my brain.
Yeah.
Because I was having a conversation with someone the other day who lives in Ridgefield. And I said, you should just, next time you're out, head to Chambers, Army Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, what?
I still keep referring to.
And then someone else
City
said,
Field
oh, that closed 25 years ago. I was like, oh. Thank you. Is what?
all right.
Refer to
Shea.
what?
I keep referring to City Field as Shea.
All right, I wasn't here when this one was done.
No, it actually looked like they were making some improvements to the property.
Disturbed wetland area
They were getting rid of the 2
0.
buildings and just creating one.
And it
Don't
was gonna
often
be
get
smaller
email like
footprint
this
overall.
important. Landscaping costs, $23,000. Is there a, I didn't see a drainage report, is there?
You
a-
just passed it.
I did,
Pretty sure it's out there. Next page.
drainage report, I
you
see
go.
that. I see this. This looks like the plan.
It does. And they're actually taking out the storm drain that empties into the lake.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
and putting in a rain garden.
So I got exhibit 2.
I remember this one side of the property well.
Is this, do we have a, maybe this is the big version of it. Let me see here. Let me put this back. I'm trying to think through what it is that, we got a little stamp here. I got one dated March 18th. Look familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
So, going back to the first page,
Yep,
taking out both these buildings,
yep,
putting in one new building.
yep,
We're taking out our drain here
yep.
that goes into the lake. We got a rain garden going in right in here.
Ooh. Are they doing any plantings? Why do we have a, why is there an amount here for,
They are doing some landscape plantings.
why do we need a bond?
I thought they were just around the building.
I think they are just.
Small.
There's
around the
not,
Yeah.
there's no bond for this, right? You guys, you didn't know bond?
No, we didn't talk about
Yeah,
it.
no, I don't think there's a bond. It's not like it's a violation or anything, right?
It is not a violation, correct?
So I don't think we would need a bond. We don't
I
normally
think
put
that
bonds.
because we had the bond on the other one, they provided it as well.
Okay, but I don't think we need a bond. So if this looks like the plan, you wanna make the motion to approve it, and then, I'll sign it for us.
Okay.
Yeah, here's the-
Just broke
oh,
up.
got it.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Make a motion to approve W-25-10, 474 Canterville Lake Road. Demolition of 2 existing buildings and construction with associated paving and drainage. With all the,
As defined by a
as
map,
defined by site plan, oops, plan by Borghese, Building and Engineering.
with an original date of,
Original date of February 3rd, 2025.
and I don't see any.
I'm not seeing a
Oh,
re-
what, revision
And a
date?
revision date of
3/10.
3/10/25.
Again,
with-
with all the usual stipulations?
With all the usual stipulations.
I think that's right. All right, well, you guys.
Second.
Yeah, so
Rob
Rob
second.
seconds. Any
All in favor?
discussion on the plan?
Sorry.
All those in favor? You guys described it to me, it looks good, so I'm gonna vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I'll get that back.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be an improvement on the property.
Yeah. All right, that goes there, this goes here. Okay, so next is, we did 203 Grays Bridge, we just did 172. 204 Wiscaneer Road, jurisdictional ruling. This one is also gonna be pretty simple, I think. Isn't this one where they're subdividing the property?
Correct.
They're subdividing the property, and in order for planning to approve it, they need a motion from Wetlands, with our opinion of it. And if I recall, there are no,
So there's wetlands on the subdivided property. It
Yeah.
will meet within the threshold according to their plan of what is allowed, but in order for the planning to review it, they need a referral from wetlands.
yeah,
The plan that they submitted for their proposed house and everything is all outside of the wetlands, but since there's wetlands on property, to create this lot, Wetlands Commission is very interesting in which you actually have the Wetlands Commission has the authority to say that they don't have
right.
the authority to rule on.
Yeah, we would make a motion that the proposed plan does not require Wetlands Commission's approval because there is no activity in either the wetlands or the upland review area. So that is my motion. I make a motion to provide I'll say jurisdictional ruling that the plan
There is an email from Steve Sullivan
So here is the motion. Make a motion, to establish, that the plan for 204A Wisconsin Road, based on a plan by CCA Engineering with a date of 3/25/2025, does not require a wetlands commission approval because there is no activity in either any wetlands nor in any of the upland review areas.
Second. Oh, Bob got it.
Rob got that. Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So that's our referrals. Our referrals are in the form of motions, and they will get the minutes. So that's how they make their choices. Okay. All right, so, correspondence. Inland wetland PGP pond treatment. Okay, we just
Just the
hear about those,
notification of a
just
deed
notification.
permit.
Yeah, we
There's
don't,
no
you
action that we
guys
need to
may know this, we don't, the local wetlands or the wetlands commissions in towns have no jurisdiction for, pond and lake treatments. But they are supposed to let us know, that way when things happen and people call and complain, Laura knows. So that's what that one is. Okay, the minutes.
I don't recall seeing anything in there that was off.
All right, well, then you can make a motion. I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Rob, did you see anything in the minutes?
No, I wasn't here, but I did not see anything.
All right.
I don't have to abstain, do I?
No, if you weren't you at the meeting?
Yeah, you were at the
meeting.
At the meeting.
This is March 24th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, March 24th, yeah. There are
I'll make-
no minutes from 2 weeks ago.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Rob seconds.
Second.
All those in favor? Two
Aye.
ayes, no noes, and one abstention. Okay, informal discussion. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, Tom seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.